Here we go.
Hey guys, Eric here with Carolina Autos. It's been a minute since I uploaded, but it's also been a minute since much has really changed on the car front for me. So I'm here today to introduce you guys to my new car and kind of talk through why I got rid of the Camaro, what my plans are going forward, introduce you guys to the car. Like I said, we'll do a quick walk around, walk through just my initial impressions of the GR 2.0 Supra, why I bought the 4-cylinder over the 6-cylinder, and just kind of generally where I'm at in my life and with the channel, and kind of what's probably going to be coming up in the next month or so. So I'll go ahead and turn around. You guys can see the new Supra right behind me, and we'll kind of just do a quick walk around here. I parked it kind of half in the shade and half out the shade so you can really see the difference, the way the light hits the car and how it kind of affects it. And we'll walk around the side here. Let me make sure I don't trip. And we'll turn the camera around and we'll get another good walk around though. So I was gonna go with white, and I saw this car sitting at the back of the lot. I looked at a new one and a couple of used ones, and this one was sitting at the back of the lot. They had just gotten it on trade. So there you go, you can see the difference, the car in the shade. You see a lot more of the detail with the yellow when it's kind of in the shade actually. So it looks really good at night. But yeah, there it is. But as soon as I saw the yellow one, I was like, yeah, I think that's the one that I want to have. So let's turn around. I'll kind of do some close-ups with the car, and then we'll talk through some of the initial impressions, pros, cons. Like I said, what all I'm going to be doing with the car, and why I picked it over anything else. So filming on my new iPhone 14 Pro. Hopefully this is a big upgrade for you guys, and hopefully the microphone sounds good. Let me try to stand back a little bit so I'm not so much my shadow in the car. Get down at ground level. And you know, you guys have seen Supras before. I'm sure everybody who watches my channel is watching other people's channels. Actually, most of the people that watch my channel, the biggest channel that I have in common with is Rady's Rides. A lot of you guys seem to watch Rady's Rides. And he's a fantastic guy. He really tilted me towards the Supra. About a year ago, I started thinking about this. And yeah, glad I went ahead and pulled the trigger. So there's a good walk around. Let's get some interior footage. All right, so here's the interior. Sorry, it's a little bit messy. Got some cords kind of going everywhere, but this is my daily driver after all. So got some nice carbon fiber accents from the previous owner. I bought this gently used with like 3,000 miles on it. You guys can see the JBL speaker system back there. Got nice tweeters and woofers in the door. Really good sound and sound system. We'll cover that too. We'll walk around the other side. Adequate trunk space. It's even got like a dip in here. My golf clubs fit perfectly right through here. I have to take my driver and my woods out, but not really that much of an inconvenience. This is from the driver's perspective. Fantastic seats. Again, we'll talk about all this as I'm doing the driving portion of the video. And there's the BMW 4-cylinder. can't really see much of it. This air box is going to be the first thing to go. I'll talk about mods. I ordered an exhaust already and an intake because it's a Supra and it's really quiet in stock form. And I kind of want people to know that I got something nicer than your normal car, so. All right, well, let's go. Let me sit down inside the car and we'll talk through some of the initial pros and cons of the car when it's stationary, just some of the features. And then we'll cover some of the driving stuff. I'll put the GoPro on my head and we'll get that covered. All right, guys, so for this portion of the video, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about why I bought a Supra, B, the 4-cylinder over the 6-cylinder, why I sold the Camaro, and a couple other things. So, you know, the Camaro was a fun car. It was a blast to drive. I had a lot of fun with it, but you guys, if you're following the channel, you know it got wrecked about 6 months ago. And I just kind of lost interest in the car after that. I was able to get my money pretty much back out of it. I paid $42,500 for that car about 2 years ago. And I traded it in, or just sold it to a dealership recently because of all the appreciating car prices. I was able to sell that car back to the dealership that I bought it from, interestingly enough, for about $40,000 after it had been in an accident and I had put about 20,000 miles on it. So, you know, I lost a couple grand on it, but $2 grand to lose on a car over 2 years is really nothing. And that doesn't account for everything I put into it, obviously, besides insurance and gas and all. But, you know, I had some modifications into it, done the exhaust, done the intake, things like that. But at the end of the day, the car didn't really mean much to me after it was crashed, and I kind of started looking for something else. So I sold it to a dealer, bought a Toyota Corolla, which is just my, you know, my get around car. Actually, my girlfriend's driving it now, until she finds something that she wants to buy. So since she was driving the Corolla, I was like, well, I need a new daily. And I kind of looked around for quite a bit. You know, and there was a couple of features I wanted, that the Supra had, that a couple others had. So originally I started kind of looking at like a Hyundai, or sorry, a Genesis, like a G70. And, you know, they're twin turbo V6, they're powerful cars, but they're also big, heavy cars, kind of big sedans. And you guys have been following me for a minute. You know, I kind of tend to like smaller, sportier cars. I didn't want to buy another muscle car. I just didn't want the expense of the V8, the insurance costs, the fuel costs. It's just more trouble than it's worth unless you really go for it and get like a Hellcat or a ZL1 or something like that. Then it makes sense. So I really started looking at a GR86, and honestly, if the market wasn't nuts and you could get a new GR86 at sticker around the Charlotte area, that's probably the direction I would have gone in. But I went to, I can't remember which Toyota dealership I went to, so I'm not going to name them because I can't remember. Terrible experience. I never had a worse experience at a dealership. They said they had 2 cars that they didn't have. They got me in there, tried to get me in some used car. I was so upset with that Toyota dealership. I walked away from the GR86 entirely. Went back home. This is probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Went back home, started looking on the internet, you know, realizing that realistically, if I wanted a GR86, I was going to have to pay somewhere around the $40,000 mark, which for a car with 200 horsepower, no turbo, it didn't sit well with me. So I started looking into options, and, you know, like I said earlier in the video, I love watching the channel Rady's Rides. I've been having my eye on a Supra for a minute. I knew that the 2.0 Supras existed, but I never really thought about it as an option, because, like, who would want anything other than the 3.0? If you're going to get a Supra, you know, go all the way. But then I started looking at pricing, and, you know, I paid $45,000 for this car. So I paid $5,000 more than I would have paid for a GR86, a new one. Now, I bought this slightly used. It had 3,000 miles on it. You can tell the car's been driven kind of hard. You know, it needed brake set back to factory. You can tell the tires have been on the racetrack once or twice, but fair enough. That's what these cars are for. And I don't mind buying a used car that's under full warranty and everything. So yeah, so for $5 more, I essentially got a much better looking car than a GR86 with the adaptive cruise control I was looking for, with all of the interior stuff I was looking for. And this car, just everywhere I go in it, you know, it's a $45,000 car. It gets the attention of a $90,000 or $100,000 car. Just everywhere you go, somebody is, hey, is that a Supra? You know, just messing around. People who don't know what it is kind of want to know something about it. And, you know, I kind of like that attention. You know, I take pride in my cars. I have my YouTube channel, you know, cars are something I'm interested in. So I wanted the looks, without the expense, and realistically to get a slightly used 3.0, I would have been looking at 58 or 60 grand. So I probably saved myself $12,000 to $15,000 buying the 4.0. And this is my daily. I don't need the extra 150 horsepower. Frankly, I just don't. You guys will see in the POV driving part of the video, this car is more than quick enough. It's way faster than a GR86. It turns way more heads than a GR86 would. Yeah, outside of the car circle. Inside of the car circle, I think GR86s are cool. I'm not denigrating that car at all. I was going to buy one had I not had such a shit experience at a Toyota dealership. And I bought this used at a Chevy or a Hyundai dealership. I can't even remember. It was just sitting on a used car lot. So yeah, you know, I am completely happy with it. I had an issue to sort through with the brakes. I'll talk about that in a later video. But we're going to mod this thing. I'm not sure about tuning it, but we're definitely going to do an exhaust upgrade. We're definitely going to do an intake upgrade. And I think that's a good spot to start the next portion of the video. So if I start the car, put my foot in, I've got my windows up. We can even put them down. Let's put them down. Just crack them, because you can't put the windows all the way down in the Supra, and we will talk about that also. So this is a sports car, right? Let's start it up. I honestly don't know much about the iPhone 14 Pro camera yet, and the microphone. I haven't listened to it on a good set of speakers. You're probably hearing the chimes over anything to do with the engine or the exhaust or anything. It's so quiet. I can put it in sport mode. It does have a valved exhaust. The iPhone may pick up that slight change in idle. So I'll go outside the car and let you guys hear it in regular mode and sport mode. So this is outside the car in regular mode, just at idle. And again, you guys are probably hearing the breeze or the birds chirping over the car. Even if I get right down to it. It's just really quiet. So let's go pop it in sport mode. Opens up the valves. No real change. And I'll set the camera down over here, and I'll just let you guys listen to the car in sport mode with a rev or two, and then regular mode with a rev or two. So as you guys can see, not really that impressive for the stock exhaust. And when we do the driving portion of the video, you also really can't hear the turbo doing its thing. So I got an intake to fix that. I got a full exhaust, or I say full, it's not a full, it's a cat back, with a much more open valve, much smaller muffler, and still maintains the control where you do get a difference in sound between sport mode and regular mode. So those will be good clips, because when I do get the exhaust installed next week, hopefully, I'm waiting on it to be delivered. But once I do get the exhaust installed, we'll do just a kind of sound comparison. I'll come out here and do exactly same place, same time in the morning, and I'll do the revs with the new exhaust once it's on. I went AFE. AFE is really the only company that makes intakes and exhausts for the 4.0 Supra right now. I mean, there's a couple other ones out there, but that was the biggest name brand I recognized. And you know, intake and exhaust, I'm $2,000 in. It's not that expensive. So yeah, without further ado, let's go for a drive and talk about some of the pros and cons. Okay guys, you can probably see me in the mirror looking ridiculous, but I've got my GoPro mounted up here on my head, and we are going to talk through some of the pros and cons of the car. Let me just adjust my camera a little bit, make sure I think it's pointing about right. You guys should be able to see outside a little bit and mostly inside the car. So wrote a couple notes down to go through on this video. Let's go through the pros first. One of them I already alluded to. So this car is basically essentially the turbo version of the GR86. You know, everybody's been wanting Toyota to turbocharge the GR86 for quite some time. They have a new generation out. They didn't turbo it. Gave it some more power, more displacement, but you know, this car is a 2.0 turbo, so it's, yeah, pretty generic, normal, quote unquote, BMW 2-liter turbo. Nothing super exciting about the way the exhaust sounds, nothing super exciting about it, but I mean, for a car that I'm going to daily drive, this is basically taking the GR86 platform, giving it more suspension, more tire, more power, better gearbox, as far as automatics go anyway. And this car, yeah, it's automatic. It's the ZF paddle shift standard torque converter automatic. It's probably the best programmed automatic out there. Just grab gears, changes immediately, does exactly what you tell it to do. Outside of a manual, you know, I live in a big city. I drive a lot around town. I just got tired of driving a manual as my daily driver. So I wanted the comfort of the automatic, and the Supra just kind of checked all the boxes for me. So the next, so that's the first pro I'd say is basically a turbo GR86 that gets a lot more attention. The next one is the interior space. Guys, this is such a nice interior space. I hope you guys can see everything really well. The screen's kind of small and kind of dinky, but we'll get to that. But outside of that, the controls are all actual buttons and knobs. Steering wheel, very simple. There's not a whole lot going on here. You got the paddles on the back. It's easy to understand. The turn signal stalks, the wiper stalks, everything just works. It's kind of standard BMW. If you've ever driven a 3 Series, this stuff's all pretty much in the same spot. So it'll be nice and familiar to you. The seats are fantastic. The look of the interior is nice. There's not too much piano black. There's a little bit, or the gloss black, whatever you want to call it. But it's not too bad. I wouldn't say it's egregious at all. I'm sorry, I'm waiting for this light to change. Making sure people aren't gonna hit me. So let's give it some gas here. Just put it to the floor and watch. So I mean, just within seconds, I don't know if you guys could see the speedometer, we got up to 70 something. And that's all you need out of a daily driver. And this thing is much more light on its feet than the Camaro was, for sure. It's lighter on its feet than the 3.0. And you know, I love driving tight, twisty mountain roads, and this is more than powerful enough for those jobs. You know, they rate these things at 255 horsepower, but it feels like a lot more than that to me. You know, it didn't kick down there. I think it should have probably grabbed a lower gear. But once it builds boost and gets going, it's going. It's every bit as fast as my Veloster N, and because it's an automatic and the shifts are pretty much instant, it feels way faster than a Veloster N. I haven't driven a DCT one, admittedly. That probably feels about like this. But it's rear-wheel drive, so it's better. So the next one is, I just alluded to it a little while ago, you know, this is one of the best transmissions you can get. It's an 8-speed automatic in sport mode or regular mode. The upshifts are fantastic. The downside to that is the downshifts are kind of jerky, especially when you're coming to a stop. It can be kind of abrupt in either sport mode or regular mode. It just seems to kind of aggressively grab the next gear. I don't know if everybody's does that, or maybe this one's just kind of been driven harder than most. But it just, the programming seems a little kind of, and guys, it's not like you're bucking back and forth. It's nowhere near that jarring. But man, these people are about to cause an accident up here. But it is, you know, it is noticeable, and the pedal, the brake pedal, is super sensitive on these cars. So, you know, as the transmission is shifting, it's enough to upset the weight of the car and shift you around in the seat, and you end up pressing the pedal harder and kind of sometimes come into a little bit of a jerky stop. But other than that, this transmission, especially on the upshifts and when you're driving it aggressively, it is fantastic. I love this transmission. It's the best automatic I've ever driven by far, like not even close. Man, that bus up there just cut the Hummer off, or sorry, I think that's actually an FJ Cruiser, and cut that other guy off too. And the next one is the speakers. I can't really play any music. I don't have any no copyright sound prepared for you guys, but the speaker system in this thing is really well balanced. It's a little boomy, a little bassy, but for a stock setup, I've always loved JBL as a company. This is a really, really nice sounding system. We'll take a right here and go up Tryon. So let's get to some of the cons of the car. Number one is the entire infotainment screen. I'm not too upset about, you know, you've got a knob here to select things, or you can use the touch screen. You cannot zoom in, zoom out. When you're in Apple CarPlay, it splits the screen for some reason, which is kind of weird. I don't know why it just did that. So it just had the parking sensors on for some strange reason. I'm not in park, I'm not trying to park, I don't know what it's doing. Just so a lot of stuff like that. The screen itself is hard to see when there's direct sunlight on it. You guys can probably see an example of that right now. I think it should have been lower down, you know, switch some stuff around, put the vents above it. I don't know, they could have done a little bit better job with the entire infotainment. Just the way it navigates, it's kind of slow. It never wants to go into CarPlay on its own. When I start the car, you have to kind of like fiddle with it and go into an option screen, then go back, and then it pops up. It's just, it's the weak point of the interior of the car, is the infotainment. Now, don't misinterpret me, it's fine. It's just, my Camaro had a way better system, and it's a Chevy, you know, so expect a little bit more out of BMW and Toyota. Also, you do not get Android Auto. I actually had to switch to an iPhone so that I could get CarPlay to work, because that's just how I do things now. Sorry, I was making sure that bus wasn't going to murder us. Where was I at? So, okay, so I had to go out and buy an iPhone. Fair enough, you know, I've kind of been wanting to switch to iPhone for a couple years anyway. That's fine, but once you get the CarPlay up, again, it splits the screen. Whether you put it in split screen mode or not, there's no way to fix it other than a flash. And I frankly don't feel like messing with anything with the infotainment. I'll just leave it like that and get used to it. But it is a pretty small screen, and you can't zoom in and out on the map with 2 fingers. It doesn't have the, you know, whatever hardware it needs to do that, it doesn't do it. But other than that, okay, fair enough, it works good. I prefer Google Maps, you know, maybe with other map things you can zoom in and out, I don't know, probably not, but just something to be aware of. There's only one USB connector slot in the whole car, so I put in a radar detector power cord that has 2 extra USBs on it. So just, again, the infotainment system, the whole interface, all of it is the weak point of the car. Everything else, buttons, climate control, that's all fine, completely fine. The other, sorry, let's just unplug that so we're not listening to the radar detector. I'm not speeding anyway, don't need it. So yeah, so the next con would be the buffeting. So I'm doing 48 miles an hour currently. Let's put both the windows down and quickly, there it is. All you guys probably hear is wind noise and buffeting. It is so bad. I know there's a fix for it by fixing something to the mirrors. The other fix, honestly, you can leave one window fully down. As long as you get one window far enough up on the other side, it will stop it. So yeah, you can drive with your driver's side window full down without spending any money. Just leave your other one cracked. You're still gonna get a breeze. You're still gonna get the nice fresh air in. You know, eventually I will put the carbon fiber, wind buffeting, whatever, but it's $200 and I'm like, I can just roll the window up for now. It's fine. I'd rather get my exhaust done, the intake done, stuff like that. The other con, and I'll show you guys this when I stop, is the doors are pretty heavy, and the positions that they open in, there's like kind of one that's not really open enough to get in the car. I'm 6'4", and it's a struggle. And then there's one that's like way open is the next step, and then like literally 90 degrees almost is the next step. So I wish there was like one step in between, because when you're in a parking garage or a parking lot or whatever, you know, I live in a building with a parking garage. Let's just get the windows up so you guys can hear me. When you're in like a parking garage and you end up in a tighter spot, that you can't get the door to sit. You basically have to set the door against the car beside you. Just be easy with it and hope for the best. You know, hope you don't leave a mark on either the Supra or somebody else's car. The intrusive safety features. So if you leave all of the safety features on in this car, and you go to change lanes without signaling, I mean, it jerks you back into your lane. It's not subtle. It's a sudden kind of jerky movement back to the middle of the lane position. I leave it off pretty much at all times, unless I'm on the highway where, okay, yeah, you know, I might not always be paying perfect attention. I leave it on. Or sorry, I leave it off when I'm in town. I've got a custom mode set. You can see on here, I just got it customized. I leave it there. I don't mess with it. I don't let it do its thing in town, because it's pretty scary. And sometimes it'll just do it. It doesn't know what lane you're in, and it just tries to kind of pick one. Even if a lane doesn't exist, or, you know, it just does weird things. It's too intrusive. And the last con is the car's too quiet. It's a sports car, and I know Toyota and BMW made these things to be customizable, right? They wanted people to make it their own. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to these cars in the aftermarket, especially with tuning, which I'm probably not going to do. I'm going to leave it stock, but we are going to put an exhaust on it. We're going to put an intake on it. I actually have the intake at home. I'm going to record putting that video on today and release it next week. There's a little highway speed pull, 60 to 80 or so. I mean, it's a quick car. It's so light. It's 3,100 pounds. I don't need a faster car, guys. And if you're considering a GR86, please, you know, with the way the used car prices are, the way the market is right now, you can pick one of these up for just a couple grand more than a GR86, and I promise you it's more fun. I promise you, it's a better car. The GR86 is more of a Toyota and Subaru design, but the infotainment is more Toyota. You'll get the Android Auto if that's important to you. But man, if you just want to have fun driving your car every day and you want people to notice you, buy a Supra. People love these things. They love seeing them. They respect it a lot more than the Camaro, honestly. It's just been a fun car to experience. I have had, you know, yeah, I've got some nitpicks with some of this stuff, but man, it's a great car. I love it. So go out there. If you're in the market for an 86, all I'm saying is take a look. And if you're in the market for a Supra, you know, consider saving 15 grand, spending it on mods and brakes or whatever you want to do to make the car your own. I've got a lot more money left in my pocket. My payment's only like $600 a month on this thing. It's great. It's exactly what I wanted. Nothing more, nothing less. You put it in regular mode, it's got the auto start stop. It's a nice place to sit every day. It's a nice car to drive every day. It just kind of never really steps a foot wrong. It just does what you want it to do, gets you there. It's got adaptive cruise control. It's exactly what I wanted. So could not be happier with the car. We'll kind of send off the video by knocking it aggressively around this corner at maybe 100 miles an hour. Let's see.
Testing. System ready.
And it handles so well. It's planted, it's firm, but it's not punishing, it's well damped. 90 miles an hour around that corner, and I'm taking my hands off the wheel. Like it does not step a foot wrong. Big Michelin Pilot Sport Cup tires, or Pilot 4Ss. That's Pilot 4Ss. Sorry about that. But perfect tire for this car. Perfect car to drive all the time. I love this thing. I'm probably never going to sell it. If I do end up wanting more of a weekend car down the road, I'll probably look at a 3.0 manual Supra. I don't want that as my daily, but I think it would be a fun weekend car. Or, you know, maybe like a used Boxster or 911 or something like that with a manual, just to have a manual transmission car that I can drive from time to time. But for now, this thing is just gonna, it fits everything I wanted it to fit, and everything I was looking for. And yeah, that's, we'll call this video a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully everybody's excited about the Supra content coming up. And we will catch you in the next video. The next one we're going to do an intake, and then the video after that we're probably going to do an exhaust. And if there's any kind of deep dives you guys want me to do into like the infotainment or something where we just kind of go through all of the different steps or whatever, I'm happy to do it. Just leave a comment, let me know. We'll do a full true review on the car at some point. We'll go hit some mountain roads, do some driving reviews. So just kind of stay tuned, and I'll try to upload a video once a week. I'm super busy at work, so that's not always going to happen, but I will do my best. And we'll catch you guys in the next video.